What's up, everybody? Welcome to BioS 3 Raw TV. So I was asked to make a follow-up. I think somebody asked for a week. Someone else said a couple days. Well, anyways, asked for an update on the Hydronics H20 product that I was going to give a try, which I did give a try. So we'll recap real quick. The first time I took it, I went to the gym. And let's recap why I'm using it. We'll go over in case you guys didn't see the other video. Using synthol throughout the years, and as a matter of fact, I was using Chris Clark's Synthesize, the pump and hose, the actual pump and hose. I used painful pumps. I've used Syntharol. I've used another one that was called Synthol, but it wasn't pump and pose, or quote unquote Synthesize, which is what the other one was called. And this stuff, this oil, actually does leave scar tissue in wherever you're injecting it, especially if you're using it to try to gain size on these body parts. Like the more you inject, the more scar tissue it leaves. Now, as you're all blown up on steroids and jacked up and the muscle's full, you don't notice it as much with the scar tissue, but when you come off steroids, you start to lose that muscle. That scar tissue that's inside that muscle that's blown up like that starts to appear and be very easily seen by the naked eye. You can tell by, like, I have the lump in the shoulder over here, some lumps in the shoulder you really can't see, but it's scar tissue from that fucking Synthol that I use, which I don't want to say I wish I'd never used it, but in hindsight, like, you know, it did a temporary job because the Synthol was supposed to swell the muscle fascia up and stretch it out, and then it fills it with real muscle afterwards. So you then bullshit, okay? Nothing does that. Nothing out there is going to swell up your fascia. No fascia stretch training, no fascia stretches. None of that shit is going to help you grow muscle fucking fast, all right? Period. That's all there is to it. Now, that being said, that was like the theory behind pump and pose and all these fucking site enhancement things. Now, I do feel personally the best way, the true way, the only way you should use the site enhancement oil stuff is like leading up to a contest like they used to use acetylene back in the day, about 1 or 2 weeks before the show, and they start putting it in certain areas like rear delts, biceps, triceps, areas that they couldn't get to pop and they had trouble growing. Like body parts they had trouble growing, they would just shape them out a little bit differently to give them that little bit of like roundness and fullness that they just didn't have genetically. Now that, I think, is the proper application. Trying to gain 3 inches on a body part is just fucking stupid, but back then we didn't know, and it was all an experiment, and I happily did these experiments willingly, and you know, we see what happens. Now when the Hydronics H20 came up, I noticed the big thing was fluid and blood flow to the muscle. And when I heard that, I was like, that's interesting, because the scar tissue that's in my shoulders doesn't allow for proper blood flow, which I can train every other body part, it'll respond. Side delts are not going to respond anymore. It doesn't matter what I do for lateral raises, what kind of presses, how much weight I use, what kind of rep schemes. You can feel it. Like, I don't get the pump there. It's not full. I don't feel like the muscle actually gets the fluid, the blood, the nutrients. It's not like it used to be at all because of that scar tissue. Contacted Nick Trigilli, said, hey, here's the deal. This is what I'm looking to do with it. I'm not using it for site enhancement, okay? Because I think a lot of people, they specifically think that's its only application, and then other people think it's like a pump product. Like, yes, it's all these things, but what I'm using it for is not site enhancement or a pump product. Well, I'm kind of using it as a pump product, but it's not something I want to be on for the rest of my life, because it's something that hopefully will rectify the situation by getting more blood flow in there and helping that scar tissue break up a little bit, doing massage therapy, trying to break it up, more blood flow, etc. And so far, this is what has happened. Now, the first day I took it, I went to the gym, and I noticed even doing my rotator cuff warm-ups, which I do inner and outer rotations, I do T rotations, I do presses with the actual cable pulling forward, which causes an external rotation and press while you're doing it. I noticed as soon as I started doing my my inner and outer rotations, I started to get a burn in the shoulder, in the side delt, not in the rotator cuff where I normally get it. Did a workout, got a great pump in the delts. I was like, okay, this is interesting, right? Now, until recently, what I was doing was 10 to 12 sets per body part, maybe 15 total, 10 to 12 reps, not going to failure, you know, just in the gym training, trying to heal up from my torn pec. Now, decided I was going to go back to training with my pre-contest split, training to failure, doing what I used to do that I feel gives me my best overall look as far as muscle mass, size, everything. Now, that workout last week, I got the pump. I said, wow, this is great. I texted Nick. I said, listen, man, it absolutely fucking works. I haven't been able to pump up my side delts in like 10 years because ever since I stopped taking the steroids, which was 2013 was the last time I took a steroid cycle for a show like that. That's the last time I was able to get a pump like that, when I had tons of gear in me and I was getting a pump no matter what. So over the course of, that was Friday. So I took it Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So that was 4 days. Today's Tuesday. It's the 5th day afterwards, right? I noticed they did stay a little fuller, right? They absolutely stayed a little bit fuller, and I was like, that's interesting. Like, I didn't even work out during the weekend, and they still stayed fuller. And I was like, wow, it does feel like tighter. I'm like, that's kind of interesting. When I touched it, there wasn't anything stuck in there. It wasn't like the oil, it wasn't hurting, like nothing like that. I was like, all right, cool. So it's not inflammation. It's still fluid in there. And I noticed if I drank more water, my side delts looked fuller, which was really weird, right? Hit up Nick, and Nick is like, yeah, you have to stay hydrated. If you're not hydrated, it's trying to pull water, and you're not training, so it's not going to pull more blood because you're not training, but it's trying to pull more water in there and hydrate that area. Now, fast forward to today. That's right, I got to do, yesterday I did back and chest, today I'm doing shoulders and arms. Let me see what happens today. I'm actually going to put up a video right now that I did with my phone real quick so you guys can see. So I did 3 sets of lateral raises. The first set was 30 pounds, 35 pounds, then 45 pounds for sets of 7 to 8 reps to failure. Now, that's pretty heavy to be getting a pump with, and normally people that are training with that fewer sets don't get that great of a pump like that. Now, not only did I get a great pump, but I noticed as I was doing so, I moved on from shoulders to do biceps, which I did 3 sets of dumbbell curls and 3 sets of push downs or press downs, not push downs, the press downs, which are more like a close grip bench press, which I can't do the benches now because of my pec, but if I rotate the shoulders up with a cable, I can do the same exercise, which really hits the triceps. 3 sets. The second set of biceps, I noticed my shoulders were getting more pumped. And I'm sitting here going, all right, they are a stabilizer for while you're training other body parts, but they shouldn't be getting pumped like this now. They still got a better pump. And it was like hours afterwards, I'm like, fuck, the pump is still there. I was still able to get a pump with 3 sets of lateral raises, which is, I mean, if you were doing sets of 20, 30, I'd say, okay, you maybe get a good pump. 3 sets of 7 to 8 is very, very little repetitions to get a pump. Got the pump, decided to shoot the video real quick so you guys could see it, because many of you that follow me know what I look like. You know what I look like when I'm training. You know what I look like when I'm not training. You know when I have a pump, when I don't have a pump. You know I literally am coming back from a torn pec, so I'm getting my body to try to respond to the different training again. But you also know that I've always had that problem with that thing in the side of my delt. And if you're looking, you can't even really see the scar tissue on my delt because it was so pumped that you couldn't see the scar tissue, which is what happens when I was on tons of gear. Like the muscle was pumped, there was more blood in there, there was more fluid in there. I'm sitting there going, shit. So that's the 2 times that I used it. And what I'm going to do now is I'm not going to use it anymore, right? Because Nick said you basically can use it a couple times and that'll give you like the sight enhancement that you're looking for. But my hope is that this stuff being in there does last a long time, does continue to pull more blood and more fluid into that part of the muscle, and correct that scar tissue and the problem with the blood flow that I had before. So for me, it's a win. You know what I mean? Hands down, I think the product works. I think it works well. I don't know about sight enhancement and shit. I mean, I would have to try it to be able to do the sight enhancement thing. Like, but I do know people that are using it for sight enhancement. They fucking love it. I've had people contact me, fucking tell me about hydronic acid, and tell me about sight enhancement. Listen, guys, I did my research already. I already know what hydronic acid is. I know that it's used in plastic surgery. I have a few plastic surgery friends. I have people that go get that shit in their fucking face. I understand that there are risks with everything, okay? Anytime you stick a needle in your body, there's a fucking risk. You can get an infection. So I had people say, well, there's this risk. And I'm like, yeah, there's a risk of infection. You're sticking a needle in your fucking body. There's a risk that from walking from here to the car that you can get skin cancer. There's a risk if you drank too much water today, you can drown and fucking kill yourself. There's a risk when you walk down these fucking stairs over here that you're gonna fall and break your fucking neck and die. Like, there's a risk with everything you do, and I appreciate people looking out for me, but also at the same time, I've already done the research on hydronic acid, you know, and seeing how this stuff and people that I already knew were using it, okay? It's not like I'm the first one to ever use this shit. You're like, Jerry, you shouldn't. Listen, there's other people using it, and this is not something that is like kept under wraps. You know what I mean? It's pretty out in the open that people are using this stuff, and a lot of it is out there right now. And I know that there are other companies that are actually fucking producing it too, and I don't really understand if, you know, what the fuck else is in their products. But bottom line is, guys, the product works. If you're going to use it for just a pump product, obviously it's going to be expensive, right? If you're using a pump product that you drink, it's going to be fucking way cheaper. So technically, pump product, I probably wouldn't use it for that. But before a show, like if you were going to get on stage, this stuff does not skew the muscularity. This stuff does not give any inflammation, does not give you any pain. So that means literally about, let's say 4 or 5 hours before the show, you could apply this stuff and get a better pump in the body parts that you need to. That's one great way to use it, I think. I don't know about using it long-term for sight enhancement because I don't really, like the oil stuff, I had to use so much of it and use it for so long. So this stuff I would have to experiment, but increased blood flow to body parts that you can't get blood flow due to scar tissue. Injuries, coming back from injuries would be another way. I mean, I'm even thinking combining this with like BP157 or TB500 would even be a better way, you know what I mean, to heal certain injuries and stuff. There are different applications that I definitely see that this could be used a few different ways, but as for now, I think it worked great for what I used it for. I'll continue to track my progress, and you'll be seeing me on Instagram on here and seeing how my body's developing in the coming weeks as I'm going back to that type of training. And yeah, it's actually kind of an exciting thing because it's kind of a new application of something. It has multiple applications, and it's not just about trying to make your arms bigger, which I think the oil, pretty much that was it. You know, everybody just kind of totally forgot that you could use it just to round out a body part, and all of a sudden tried to start putting 4 inches on their fucking arms, injecting the shit everywhere, looking like really weird, and kind of lost track of what the stuff really was and how it was used. Acetylene back in the day, many top pros, and we're talking those golden age that everybody talks about, the best one in the 90s, those guys were loading up on acetylene. I mean, shooting every muscle in their back with it, shooting every fucking body part backstage before they fucking walked out on stage, shooting every body part the night before. Like, trust me guys, they were using this stuff. Unfortunately, it's not made anymore, but this could very well be a replacement for acetylene, and I think it would actually be cheaper than acetylene, to be totally honest with you. I think acetylene was about $35 to $40 an amp for me back then. This stuff's $34 a bottle and covers 2 body parts, so absolutely that would actually be a cheaper application. So keep an eye out, guys. Go ahead and check it out, Hydronics H20.com. Check out Nick Trigili's Instagram. It's a world-class Nick, and see the results and what's going on, guys. BioStraining@gmail.com. Leave comments down below, but don't fight. www.biostraining.com is a blog. It's the Hydronics H20 bicep. Actually, it was in the Delt, and we are